pot will rock forward and a bunch of little holes will line up with this slot back here. When that plunger goes down, it fills this mold up, and your mats are in here, so it fills all the characters up that are in the mat. And then that's what gives you that slug. The whole body is what's in here.
Yeah.
And the top part is what's in here, your brass mats, the letters. And to start with, this mold disc is going to spin up a quarter turn to put this mold over here. This is going to go up here, and this is one that's going to be in the line of fire.
That gives them time to cool off between.
Not necessarily. On this machine, you're using one mold only at a time.
Right.
This is the only mold that's working. These others are out of play right now.
Oh, okay.
So this is going to come up. It's going to come in. It's going to cast. It's going to spin 3/4 of a turn, get at this point, and then the ejector is going to come out and shoot it through here and drop it down on your tray. Okay. It's going to use this mold every time.
Gotcha.
This is a 14-point mold. This is probably a 10-point mold, an 8-point mold, and a 12-point mold. So depending on what typeface you're using, you have to use a corresponding mold for that typeface.
Gotcha.
And how do you set the mold size?
All right.
That's
what
what
you
this-
do, you pull this out and you spin it. At this point, we'll be using the 12-point mold if we were to do that.
Yeah.
Yes,
But you're going to want to have 12-point type that
you
you're
got to have
pulling
your
down.
12-point magazine in line to use.
I want to mention the 4 or 5 things you want to check before you send the line in, like the liner length, and you can make sure you got the right
I don't know that they're going to get into that. I think they're just going to stick with the 14 right now because that's the only one working. But if you were to change molds and go to a different mold, right now we're setting on 14, which is the thickness of this. It trims this edge off, so it has to be 14. If you were to go to 12 point, you would want to turn this up, pull it out, and then go to 12. And now it will trim on 12 point. Okay?
Which would lose part of your.
Well, it will not trim this off. You have to have a 12-point mold because if you were to have this on 12 and have this on 14, it would hit right there and the whole machine would stop. It will not cut that much metal off.
Okay.
It only is designed to cut these little grooves off
Okay.
because it's not strong enough to just chop everything.
Got it.
So if that happens and it stops there, you're going to have to figure out how do I back this up, and you got to open it up, and you got to change the mold. So that's why we're just going to leave it on 14 for right now. And Mel's going to learn how to set it up so that if you're going to run 12 point for the day, she'll have it all set up to do 12 point. If you're going to do 8 point or 14 point or whatever, Mel's going to have it all set up. Right, Mel?
I was a little nervous when you said that, by the way.
Well,
I'm going to have to talk to Tim a little bit.
exactly. Well, that's Tim.
That's why they're here.
Tim's a good backer. Tim knows. I mean, he doesn't need to be here.
I mentioned this too.
Yeah, well, we're not going to be doing different line lengths, I don't think. Everything's going to stay on 30. I don't think they're going to put shorter liners on for what they do. But if you had one, there's liners in here that determine the length
Okay.
of what these slugs are.
Right.
These little pieces in here are called liners. That's the left-hand liner
Okay.
and the right-hand
And they
liner.
can slide.
And Tim, you have longer ones. The longer one always goes in this one over here. So now you have a real short opening. Okay?
Right.
Now the ejector blade down here is set for 30, so it's coming out this whole full length to kick the slug out. If you put a longer liner in it to make a shorter slug, you have to move this down so only this much liner comes out. I mean, ejector blade. Because if it comes out to hit this, it's going to break something.
Right.
So I don't think y'all need to be concerned about that too much right now, but so we're going to try to leave 30s in the whole thing as far as I know. So this should stay on 30 all the time unless somebody changes these or wants to do something different.
So
also check two of the 4 things. Check your
Check
ejector.
your knife, check your ejector, check your link here, check the position of your mold, if it's in the right position. Because if you go casting in the wrong mold, you're gonna have a mess.
Okay.
And then always check whether this flapper is up or down.
What is that for?
Well, if you want to set italic, for instance, or gold on a mat.
You don't have that on yours. You don't have that on yours, Jay.
Right,
You
yeah,
got a little lever over here goes 1, 2, 3.
yes.
That's the same thing as that.
But if you were to have this down and you were in an auxiliary position here and you cast it, it
It wouldn't go anywhere
would
because this
throw
is supposed
lead
to
all
stop
over the
it.
place.
This is supposed to stop it if you do that.
If that's
That's the
working.
double black attachment.
Yeah,
Yes,
so always check this.
Make sure it's, some kid
What's
hasn't flipped it over to the other side.
correct.
Yeah, on this machine you would.
Now, Tim has been setting 25 picas. This is a full 30 pica measure. But Tim has it set only to 25 because that's as much as it'll open right now. There's something in there. Now, if you wanted to set shorter over here, you have to adjust
Right.
the line length over here. Right now, it's this little piece right here needs to be lined up when you close it. Because you got an arm here and you got a little piece there. That needs to be lined up so this measure will be correct. Right now we're setting on 20 is what it's set at. So you can only get mats out to this point, the 20 will fit in here, okay? If you wanted to go longer, you would adjust it by this.
Oh, okay,
That moves this piece.
okay. Gotcha.
And it's going out to 30 now. Tim. No, still going 26. Okay, right now, you've got 22, the next line is 23, then you got 24, 25, 26. And you adjust this, and when you adjust it, make sure it's on the 0 right here, which means that's a full measure.
Gotcha.
If you have it on anything less, that means it's that much shorter. And if you have it on 6, that means it's halfway. It's like 25 and a half, 26 and a half, whatever. So right now we're setting on 20 and 0. So this says 20. It'll only go out to 20 up here. Now, as you put mats in it, which the mats are going to assemble right here, this number counts down. This number stays the same because this arm's going to move across. So this is telling you how much you have in there, how much space you have left before. This tells you how much is in there, this one right here.
Right.
This tells you how much space you have left before you have a full line. So if you keep going, this keeps counting down. And when this piece gets very close to that piece, that's full line. If you put too many extra mats in there,
Yeah,
it'll
they're
stop.
gonna jam up.
They're going to jam up right here and they're not going to go in anymore. This, like I said, when that's over and you want to tighten the line back up, you push this lever. That tightens the line back up. So now I can send this line through. Now, right now we only have 15 M's in there. This is set on center. That means when it goes over into the jaws are going to close and it's going to center everything on this 25 pica or the 20 pica length that we have it set for.
Dave, will you point to the center again on the adjustment?
This is the quadrant. That's set to center. If you want to go at the quad right, you turn it there. If you want to go to quad left, you turn it here. And if you want to justify, you put it on REG. Now what justify means, the jaws are going to stay stationary. They're not going to move.
Okay.
So you have to run your line in and you have to use space bands. The The space bands, what they're gonna do when you get them in the jaws, the space bands are gonna push up and squeeze everything out through the jaws. So that it's like bookwork or newspaper work, everything's even on both sides.
Okay.
Quad left means it pushes everything to the left. Quad right means everything's pushed to the right. Center means everything is pushed center, so you got white space on both sides.
Okay.
And some people set what's called ragged right, is that correct? And that means
Ragged right?
you push it to the left, so the right hand end is ragged.
Okay.
It doesn't, it's not equal on both sides. It's called ragged right. And it means the left-hand column is smooth and even with everything, but the right side can move in and out different ways.
To do that poultry,
Oh, yeah.
you want to explain our problem here with this, because they're gonna run into that.
All right, what's happening, and what I'm gonna recommend that you guys do, is when you, let me get rid of these mats. When you guys are demonstrating and set a line, start out with the M space. The M space is a big mat, and it can hold the smaller ones in line. And then you can type whatever you want. That will come down. And the lowercase I is really small. And what's been happening with Tim, he's running it without these spaces. Whenever he goes to raise it, sometimes this one's falling over
Yeah.
because it's so thin, and when it falls over, it will lock it up and it'll keep it from raising.
Got it.
It'll actually catch under this piece here.
Yep.
So put a bigger space on the end, and usually that will not happen.
You're on regular now.
Yep. Well, it don't matter. It's not going to cast. But we go back to center. And there's a safety back there that if it's on regular and the line's not full, it's not supposed to cast.
We hope.
But, well, there you go. But sometimes things happen. So if you send a line through and you say, hey, I don't want that to cast, there's this piece right here. Hold it over to the left really hard. And that's going to keep that safety under where it's supposed to be, and the plunger will not drop and cast for you. This is just a manual safety to override the electric safety. It's just sort of a safety on a safety for you.
Dave,
Yes?
can you send a line that's not completely filled out up and over and cast it with the motor saw, or
The more saw is not working on this.
I mean not motor saw, the plotter?
Yeah, this one with the quadder on, you can set one mat, or you can set a whole line of mats, and it should